Top 25 Service Delivery Interview Questions and Answers. Service delivery roles are all about making sure customers, clients, teams, and business operations receive the right service at the right time and at the right standard. In a service delivery interview, employers want to know if you can manage expectations, solve problems, communicate professionally, handle pressure, improve processes, and keep service quality consistent. They're not only looking for someone who understands customer service, but someone who can coordinate people, track performance, manage issues, and protect client satisfaction. These questions and answers will help you prepare strong, practical, and professional responses for a service delivery interview. 1. What does good service delivery mean to you? Good service delivery means providing a reliable, consistent, and professional service that meets or exceeds customer expectations. To me, it is not just about completing a task. It is about understanding the client's needs, communicating clearly, managing timelines, and making sure the final result adds value. Good service delivery also means being proactive when problems appear, following agreed processes, and continuously looking for ways to improve. In any service delivery role, I believe the goal is to create trust by delivering quality service on time and maintaining a positive customer experience. 2. How do you manage client expectations? I manage client expectations by communicating clearly from the beginning. I make sure the client understands what can be delivered, when it can be delivered, and what information or support may be needed from their side. If there are any delays, risks, or changes, I believe it is better to communicate early instead of waiting until the issue becomes bigger. I also avoid overpromising because that can damage trust. My approach is to be honest, realistic, and solution-focused, while keeping the client updated throughout the service delivery process. 3. How would you handle a service failure? If a service failure happened, my first step would be to understand the issue quickly and identify how it is affecting the customer or business. I would acknowledge the problem, communicate with the client professionally, and avoid blaming others. Then I would work with the relevant team to find a practical solution and restore the service as soon as possible. After the issue is resolved, I would review what caused it and look for ways to prevent it from happening again. For me, recovery and prevention are both important. 4. How do you prioritize multiple service requests? When handling multiple service requests, I prioritize based on urgency, business impact, deadlines, and customer importance. I first look at which requests affect operations, customers, or service level agreements the most. Critical issues that stop business activity or affect many users should be handled first. At the same time, I make sure lower priority requests are not ignored by tracking them properly and giving realistic updates. I also communicate with stakeholders if priorities change. This helps keep the workflow organized and ensures that important service needs are handled professionally. 5. How do you ensure service quality? I ensure service quality by following agreed processes, monitoring performance, checking customer feedback, and paying attention to details. Service quality is not something that happens only at the end. It has to be managed throughout the whole delivery process. I like to use clear standards, regular updates, and performance indicators to make sure the service is meeting expectations. If I notice repeated complaints or delays, I treat them as signs that improvement is needed. Consistency, accountability, and continuous improvement are key to maintaining strong service quality. 6. How do you handle an unhappy client? When dealing with an unhappy client, I first listen carefully and allow them to explain their concern without interrupting. I stay calm, professional, and respectful, even if the client is frustrated. Then I acknowledge their issue and ask questions to fully understand what went wrong. After that, I focus on what can be done to fix the problem instead of making excuses. I also keep the client updated until the matter is resolved. My goal is to rebuild confidence by showing ownership, urgency, and a genuine commitment to helping them. 7. What service delivery tools or systems have you used? In service delivery, I understand that tools are important for tracking requests, monitoring performance, and keeping communication organized. I have experience or familiarity with ticketing systems, CRM platforms, reporting dashboards, shared trackers, email management tools, and collaboration platforms like Microsoft Teams or Slack. These tools help make sure requests are recorded, assigned, followed up, and completed properly. However, I also believe tools only work well when people use them consistently. Accurate updates, proper notes, and timely follow-ups are essential for effective service delivery management. 8. How do you measure service delivery performance? Service delivery performance can be measured through service-level agreements, response times, resolution times, customer satisfaction scores, complaint trends, backlog levels, and quality checks. I believe it is important to look at both numbers and customer feedback. For example, a service may be completed on time, but if the customer experience was poor, there is still room for improvement. I would regularly review performance data to identify patterns, risks, or repeated issues. Measuring performance helps teams stay accountable and make better decisions for improving service delivery. 9. How would you improve a weak service process? To improve a weak service process, I would first identify where the problem is happening. It could be delays, unclear ownership, poor communication, repeated errors, or lack of tracking. I would review data, speak with team members, and understand the customer impact. Then I would suggest practical improvements, such as clearer steps, better documentation, automation, training, or stronger escalation rules. I believe process improvement should be simple and useful, not complicated. The goal is to make service delivery faster, clearer, and more reliable for everyone involved. 10. How do you handle pressure in a service delivery role? I handle pressure by staying organized, calm, and focused on priorities. Service delivery can be demanding because clients expect quick responses and problems often need urgent attention. When pressure increases, I avoid reacting emotionally and instead break the situation into manageable steps. I identify the most urgent issue, communicate with the right people, and keep stakeholders updated. I also make sure nothing is missed by using notes, trackers, or task lists. Working under pressure requires discipline, clear thinking, and professional communication. 11. How do you deal with missed deadlines? If a deadline is missed, I believe the most important thing is to communicate honestly and take responsibility. I would first find out why the deadline was missed and what impact it has on the client or business. Then I would provide a revised timeline and explain what actions are being taken to complete the work. I would not hide the delay or wait for the client to ask. Afterward, I would review the cause and look for ways to prevent similar delays in the future, such as better planning or earlier escalation. 12. How do you work with internal teams to deliver service? Service delivery depends heavily on teamwork, so I believe strong internal communication is essential. I work with internal teams by making expectations clear, sharing accurate information, following up professionally, and respecting each team's role. If a client issue requires support from technical, operations, finance, or customer service teams, I make sure the right people are involved and everyone understands the priority. I also avoid blaming internal teams in front of clients. Instead, I focus on coordination, accountability, and finding the best solution for the customer. 13. How do you handle conflicting priorities from different clients? When different clients have conflicting priorities, I assess each request based on urgency, impact, contractual commitments, and available resources. I do not simply respond to the loudest client first. Instead, I look at which issue has the greatest business impact or risk. If needed, I discuss priorities with my manager or relevant stakeholders to make a balanced decision. Communication is also important, so I provide realistic updates to clients and explain timelines professionally. This helps manage expectations while keeping service delivery fair, organized, and business-focused. 14. What would you do if a client asks for something outside the agreed scope? If a client asks for something outside the agreed scope, I would respond professionally and first make sure I fully understand the request. I would not reject it immediately, but I also would not promise something that has not been agreed. I would explain what is included in the current service agreement and then discuss possible options, such as getting approval, raising a change request, or reviewing additional costs or timelines. This approach protects the business while still showing the client that we are helpful and solution-focused. 15. How do you ensure clear communication during service delivery? I ensure clear communication by keeping messages simple, accurate, and timely. I make sure stakeholders know the current status, next steps, timelines, and any risks. I avoid using unclear language or technical terms that the client may not understand. For internal communication, I make sure tasks are documented and responsibilities are clear. I also believe regular updates are important, even when there is no major change, because they reassure the client that the matter is being handled. Clear communication reduces confusion and builds trust. 16. How do you handle escalations? When handling escalations, I first stay calm and gather all the facts. I identify what has happened, who is affected, what has already been done, and what outcome is needed. Then I involve the right people and make sure the escalation is handled with urgency. I communicate professionally with the client or stakeholder and provide realistic updates. I also document the issue and follow the escalation process properly. After the matter is resolved, I believe it is important to review the root cause and prevent repeat escalations. 17. How do you build strong relationships with clients? I build strong client relationships through trust, consistency, and professional communication. Clients want to feel that their concerns are understood and that the service provider is reliable. I try to be responsive, honest, and proactive. I also pay attention to client preferences, business needs, and previous issues so I can provide a more personalized service. Strong relationships are not built only when things go well. They are also built by how professionally problems are handled. A client should feel confident that I will take ownership and follow through. 18. How do you stay organized in service delivery? I stay organized by using task lists, ticketing systems, calendars, reminders, and clear documentation. In service delivery, many requests can happen at the same time, so relying only on memory is risky. I like to track each request with its status, owner, deadline, and next action. I also review priorities regularly so urgent tasks are not missed. Good organization helps prevent delays, improves communication, and allows me to give accurate updates to clients and managers. It also helps maintain service quality during busy periods. 19. How would you handle repeated complaints about the same issue? If repeated complaints are coming in about the same issue, I would treat it as a sign of a deeper problem, not just separate incidents. I would review the complaints, identify patterns, and investigate the root cause. It may be a process issue, training gap, system problem, or communication failure. I would involve the relevant team and suggest a corrective action plan. I would also keep clients informed if the issue affects them. Repeated complaints should be used as an opportunity to improve the service permanently. 20. How do you handle service-level agreements? I handle service-level agreements by understanding the agreed response times, resolution targets, responsibilities, and escalation rules. SLAs are important because they set clear expectations between the service provider and the client. I would monitor requests carefully to make sure deadlines are not missed, and escalate early if there is a risk of breaching the agreement. I also believe communication is important when an SLA is at risk. Managing SLAs properly shows professionalism, protects client trust, and helps the business maintain strong service performance. 21. Tell me about a time you improved customer satisfaction. In a previous situation, I noticed that customers were becoming frustrated because they were not receiving regular updates on their requests. The actual resolution time was acceptable, but the lack of communication made the service feel slow. I suggested sending clearer progress updates at key stages and making sure every request had an owner. This helped customers feel informed and reduced follow-up complaints. The experience taught me that customer satisfaction is not only about solving the problem, it is also about how clearly and professionally the service is delivered. 22. How do you handle a team member who is delaying service delivery? If a team member is delaying service delivery, I would first speak with them professionally to understand the reason. There may be workload issues, unclear instructions, missing information, or a technical problem. I would focus on solving the delay rather than blaming the person. If needed, I would help clarify the priority, provide missing details, or escalate the issue to a manager. Since service delivery depends on teamwork, it is important to maintain respect while still being accountable. The goal is to protect the client experience. 23. How do you manage changes in service requirements? When service requirements change, I first make sure the change is clearly understood and properly documented. I would assess how the change affects timelines, resources, costs, service quality, and client expectations. Then I would communicate the impact to the relevant stakeholders before moving forward. I believe changes should be managed carefully, because even small changes can create confusion if they are not controlled. A structured approach helps prevent misunderstandings and keeps service delivery aligned with business goals and customer expectations. 24. Why do you want to work in service delivery? I want to work in service delivery because I enjoy roles that combine communication, problem solving, organization, and customer focus. Service delivery is important because it directly affects client satisfaction and business performance. I like the challenge of making sure services are delivered smoothly, even when there are tight deadlines or unexpected issues. I also enjoy working with different teams to solve problems and improve processes. This type of role suits me because I am detail-oriented professional and motivated by helping customers receive reliable and high-quality service. 25. Why should we hire you for this service delivery role? You should hire me because I understand that service delivery requires reliability, communication, ownership, and the ability to solve problems under pressure. I can manage priorities, work with internal teams, support clients professionally, and stay focused on service quality. I do not see service delivery as just completing tasks. I see it as building trust by delivering consistent results. I am also willing to learn your systems, follow your processes, and contribute to improvements where needed. I believe I can bring a practical, customer-focused, and responsible approach to this role. Preparing for a service delivery interview means showing that you can do more than respond to requests. Employers want to see that you understand service quality, client expectations, teamwork, escalation, problem-solving, and continuous improvement. Strong answers should sound practical, calm, and professional. Try to support your answers with real examples whenever possible, especially examples where you handled pressure, improved a process, solved a client issue, or worked with internal teams. If you can show that you are organized, customer-focused, and reliable, you will make a much stronger impression in your service delivery interview.